I was raised by a woman who never lied, or at least that's what I believed for 20 years. She told the truth about everything, how much she earned, how hard life was. Even when she cried, she never hid it. So when she told me my father died before I was born, I believed her, without question. She said it like it hurt her to even speak. He was a good man, Daniel. God just needed him early. Her voice would tremble and I'd feel guilty for asking. So I stopped asking. I thought silence was a way to love her. Our house was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 old couch, and the kind of wallpaper that always peeled near the corners. But she made it feel safe. Every morning smelled like coffee and lavender detergent. Every night she'd hum while folding clothes, her rhythm steady as if she were keeping the world from falling apart. I thought that's what strong people did, carry pain quietly. I didn't realize her silence wasn't strength, it was fear. Because every day at 6 p.m., she'd stop whatever she was doing, walk to the window, and stare outside. Not for long, maybe 30 seconds. Just enough to check for something or someone. Then she'd return to her task, pretending it never happened. I never questioned it. It was just another part of her ritual, our ritual. Our neighbor, Mr. Harris, lived next door. A quiet man in his late 40s when I was a kid. He always waved when he saw us. Mom always waved back, but her smile was restrained. Like she was trying to act normal for a camera no one else could see. He fixed our fence once, repaired the porch light, and every Christmas, he'd leave a small gift bag at our doorstep. Sometimes chocolates, sometimes a book. Never signed, just tagged Merry Christmas, kid. I thought he was just a kind neighbor. Maybe lonely, maybe bored. But there was something about the way he looked at me. Not in a creepy way, in a way that felt heavy. Like he was holding back 100 unspoken words, a dam about to break. When I turned 18, he gave me a wristwatch. It was old, silver, scratched, but polished like it meant something precious. He said, "A man's only real gift is time. Don't waste it." Then he smiled, but his eyes were sad. Like he was saying goodbye to a life he never got to live. That night, Mom saw the watch. She froze. Her voice went low, the kind of low that sounds like anger but feels like pure terror. "Where did you get that?" "Mr. Harris gave it to me," I said. She stared at it for what felt like an eternity, then said, "You don't need that," and took it away. No explanation, no discussion, just locked it in her drawer, burying it alongside whatever secrets she kept there. For years, I forgot about that moment. Life moved on. I went to college, came back for holidays, and the watch remained a forgotten relic of a strange birthday. Until I was cleaning the house last summer and found an old photo album under her bed. Dusty, worn, with pages half stuck together from time and humidity. In the middle of it, there was a photo of a man holding a newborn me, and on his wrist was the same watch. Same scratches, same distinct pattern on the band. I turned the photo around. On the back in Mom's handwriting it said, 1999, our first home. Our first home. But the strange thing was, behind the man in the photo, the street sign was visible. Half torn, half faded. But I recognized it. It was the same street we still lived on. I stared at that picture for minutes, my chest tightening, my head spinning. I tried to convince myself it was a coincidence, that maybe it was a relative, a family friend, someone who just happened to look like Mr. Harris, but deep down I already knew. The truth was right there, buried under 20 years of lies, and Mom's trembling smile. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every memory came back in flashes, the stolen glances between them, the anonymous Christmas gifts, the watch, the suffocating silence. Everything that had felt normal suddenly felt scripted, a play performed just for me. And I realized something that made my stomach twist into a knot. If Mr. Harris was my father, then my entire childhood wasn't a story of love and loss. It was a story of someone hiding from her own past, right in plain sight. And I was the living, breathing proof of it.
After I found that picture, I told myself not to overthink. People see patterns where they want to. Maybe I just wanted answers too badly. But deep down, something inside me knew. I wasn't wrong. For 2 days, I kept replaying every moment between Mom and Mr. Harris in my mind. How she'd tense up when he appeared. How he'd smile at her like they shared a secret nobody else could touch. And how every time I mentioned him, she'd change the subject like flipping a switch. The silence started feeling louder than her words ever did. That weekend, I decided to search the drawer where she locked the watch. She was out buying groceries. I opened it carefully, pretending I was just cleaning. It was still there, wrapped in an old handkerchief, but there was something else under it. A small envelope, yellowed, with handwriting that didn't belong to her. The name written on it was, "To Anna." My mom's name. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. The paper smelled old, like dust and rain. The letter started simple. "Anna, I know you hate me for what happened, but you need to tell him someday. He deserves to know where he came from. I won't bother you again after this, I promise. Just let him know he was loved. M." The signature was smudged, but I didn't need to read it twice. M. Mr. Harris. My hands were shaking. I sat there for 10 minutes, just staring at the letter. I didn't even cry. There was no anger yet, just a heavy, empty silence inside my chest. The kind you feel when your entire memory rewrites itself in front of you. When Mom came home, I hid everything back in the drawer. She smiled at me like nothing was wrong, talking about dinner plans, bills, life, all those meaningless daily words that suddenly sounded fake. She didn't know I knew. Not yet. That night, while washing dishes, I asked casually, "Mom, did you ever know Mr. Harris before we moved here?" She froze. The sound of the running tap filled the silence. She didn't turn around. After a few seconds, she said, "Why would you ask that?" "Just wondering. He's been here as long as we have. Seems familiar." She turned the tap off, still not facing me. Then she said quietly, "Some people are better left as neighbors, Daniel. Don't overthink." I wanted to scream. To tell her I'd found the letter, the photo, the watch, but something in her voice stopped me. It wasn't anger, it was fear. Fear so thick, it made me feel pity instead of rage. She didn't lie to protect herself. She lied to survive something. I just didn't know what that something was yet. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Every creak of the house sounded like a whisper from the past. At around 2 a.m., I looked out my window and saw him. Mr. Harris, sitting on his porch. The same position he always sat in, just staring at our house. Only this time, when our eyes met, he didn't look away. He just gave a small nod, like he knew I finally understood. And for the first time in my life, I felt both comfort and pain in the same breath. The next morning I decided, no more pretending. If Mom wouldn't tell me the truth, I'd get it myself. After that night, everything between us changed. Mom tried to pretend nothing happened. She smiled at breakfast, asked about my day, even made my favorite pancakes. But her hands, they were shaking when she poured the syrup. Every single word that left her mouth sounded like it was fighting to hold the house of lies together. And I played along. For a whole week, I acted normal. I laughed when she joked. I went out, came home on time. But inside, I was dissecting every single memory I ever had of her. Every bedtime story. Every time she told me, "You look just like your uncle." Every moment she hugged me, I wondered if it was love or guilt. Then one night, I saw him again, Mr. Harris, my neighbor. He was standing at his window, watching our house, with all the lights off behind him. He looked like a ghost, just waiting for permission to exist. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just couldn't. I grabbed the photo, the watch, and all the courage I'd been avoiding my entire life. And I walked next door. My hands were sweating so much I could barely even knock on the door. But he opened it before I could even touch it. It was almost like he knew I'd come. He just looked at me for a long moment, then said quietly, "I knew this day would come." His voice, it wasn't unfamiliar. It was the same tone I heard in my own head whenever I doubted myself. The same calm I tried to imitate when I was scared. He didn't invite me in. He just stepped aside. And when I walked inside, I saw something that made my heart completely stop. The living room was full of photographs of me, my school pictures, my birthday parties. Every year, every single moment, documented from a distance. He'd been watching my life like a shadow father, collecting memories I never even shared with him. I turned to him and I said the only thing that came to my mind. Why? He sighed, ran a hand over his face, and just whispered, because your mother told me to stay away, or she'd ruin both our lives. I didn't understand. Not yet. But when he opened his old wooden drawer and handed me a letter sealed in my Mother S. handwriting, everything inside me went still. It was addressed to me, written the year I was born. The paper had yellowed with time, but the words were sharp enough to cut through everything I had ever believed. There was a heavy silence as I opened it. Her handwriting was unmistakable. It read, "If you're reading this, it means you found him. I never wanted to keep you two apart. I did it because I had to. You were born from a secret that could destroy everything." She didn't lie out of hate. She lied out of fear. But fear doesn't erase the truth. It just delays its explosion. And mine had just detonated. What do you do when the two people you're supposed to trust the most have built your entire life on a foundation of secrets? My mother, the woman who raised me, and him, the man who watched me grow up from across the street. I was standing in a room full of my own life, a life I only knew half of. The letter felt heavy in my hand, not just from the paper, but from the weight of 20 years of silence. I looked from the letter to the man standing in front of me, my father. His eyes were filled with a sadness that mirrored my own confusion. He had been a prisoner of her fear, just as I had been a victim of it. "What secret?" I finally asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He just walked over to a small, dust-covered box in the corner of the room. It was locked. He pulled a small key from his pocket, the same kind of key that might open a diary. The click of the lock opening sounded deafening in the quiet room. Inside, there were more letters, newspaper clippings, and another photograph. This one was of my mother, much younger, standing next to another man I didn't recognize. They looked happy, but there was a tension in the way they stood together. He handed me a newspaper clipping. The headline was stark. "Local businessman vanishes. Foul play suspected." The man in the picture was the same one from the photograph with my mother, and the date on the article was just a few months before I was born. My mother's secret wasn't just about an affair. It was about something much, much darker. Something dangerous enough to make a mother hide her child's father in plain sight for 2 decades. The man who had vanished was her husband at the time, my legal father. And as I connected the dots, a chilling realization washed over me. My existence wasn't just a secret, it was a motive. My mother's fear wasn't just about her reputation. It was about protecting him, my real father, from a past that could send him to prison, and protecting me from a truth that could tear my world apart. But it was too late for that. My world was already in pieces. I looked at him, the stranger who shared my blood, and saw the years of quiet suffering etched onto his face. He had sacrificed his right to be my father to keep a promise born from a desperate, dangerous love. The question was no longer just, why? It was, what happens now? The explosion was over, and I was standing in the fallout, holding the trigger. Thank you so much for following along with this story. The final part is coming very soon, so if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the conclusion. I appreciate every single one of you. I walked home that night with the letter still warm in my hands. The streetlights looked different, colder. The same path I'd walked my whole life suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I was walking through a movie set built to keep me blind. When I reached home, Mom was waiting in the living room. She wasn't crying. She was just sitting there, still quiet, like she already knew I had seen everything. I placed the letter on the table. She didn't look at it. She just looked at me and said softly, "So, you know." The air between us was heavy, like 2 lives staring at each other, realizing they'd both been lies. I asked her, "Why did you do it?" And for the first time in my life, she didn't look away. She said, "Because I didn't want you to grow up hating him." I frowned. Hating him for what? She took a deep breath, The kind you take when you're about to rip open a wound that never healed. "He wasn't supposed to be your father," she said. "He was my best friend's husband. Your real father left before you were born. Harris. He was the one who stayed. He helped me survive when I had no one. But the world doesn't forgive love that happens in the wrong order." I didn't say anything. My mind went blank, like someone had unplugged me from reality. Everything she said after that was distant, muffled. I could see her lips moving, but all I could hear was the word forgive. Forgive her. Forgive the years of lies. The empty seat at my birthdays. The silence that raised me. She reached out for my hand, but I stepped back. That hurt her more than shouting ever could. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see my mother. I saw a woman, broken, human, terrified, who made one choice that rewrote 2 lives. And somehow, that hurt more than anger ever could. Because when someone lies to you out of malice, you can hate them. But when they lie to protect you, you don't know what to feel anymore. The next morning, Mr. Harris moved out. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone. Mom and I never talked about it again. She still makes breakfast, still hums the same song she used to when I was a kid. But sometimes, I catch her staring at the empty house next door, her eyes lost in a past she can revisit. And I realized something. Some lies don't destroy people, they just freeze time. And when the truth finally comes out, it doesn't free you. It just reminds you how long you've been trapped. I wear the watch now. It doesn't tell time properly anymore. But maybe that's the point. Maybe some clocks aren't meant to move forward. They were meant to remind us of the moment everything stopped.